Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Big Bid Theory. I'm your host, Bill Culhane. And for those of you who saw the promo that we sent out last week, we've been on sabbatical a little bit. I had a couple of events over in California. Let's see, a couple of weeks ago, I was up in the Dallas-Fort Worth metro area at an event, and I was just in our nation's capital, DC, last week. But it's great to be back in front of the microphone, in front of the camera. For those of you who were tuned in to our audio-only version of the show, the updated website is now out there, and also the Dave and Beverly Nash Leadership Award. All of the details on the nomination and selection process can be found at thebigbidtheory.com, at that before mentioned new website. So anyway, speaking of leaders, it's time to bring on our good friend, Steve Pullie. And Steve, bear with me. I want to make sure I get this right. Steve is the Director of Procurement, South Carolina Department of Probation, Parole and Pardon Services. Also, he's a busy guy, also on the board of directors, director at large, the South Carolina Association of Governmental Purchasing Officials. Steve, welcome to the show.
Bill, thank you. That's a mouthful. I appreciate it.
It is, yeah. You must have a really, really large business card.
It makes the day go fast, Bill. I like it. It's always something to do.
Gotcha. So let's start here. You're involved in SCAGPO, as I mentioned just a few seconds ago. I personally, it was a year ago, I was fortunate to attend SCAGPO's event there in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. I've been to Myrtle Beach many times. The Hook and Barrel is one of my favorite restaurants on the planet, just as a side note, for those of you who are wondering. So the event, the trade show conference, is coming up November 3rd through the 6th, and it's at the Myrtle Beach Marriott Resort and Spa at Grand Dunes. Again, a beautiful facility. I've had events in Conway, right down the road at Coastal Carolina, and that's usually where we stay at this hotel. Absolutely, I don't use this word often, but spectacular. But Steve, if you would kind of take our audience through some of the details, the schedule, what folks can anticipate who are headed over to Myrtle Beach.
Bill, thank you so much. I'll serve as the sponsorship chair for the SCAGPO Forum. Our 46th this year. Traditionally, it's been held in Myrtle Beach, like we are this year at the Grand Dunes. Our final year in Grand Dunes, we're moving to lovely Charleston, South Carolina next year. Membership has kind of wanted to explore that beautiful area of our coast, but it is at the Grand Dunes this year. It's a wonderful vendor member event. Our job is to try to get our members certified and trained in this world of procurement that we live in, but also to build those partnerships with our vendor community. It's a very fast growing show. I think one of the fastest in the Southeast. We're up to about 100 vendor attendees booths this year. We've sold out the booth area typically the last 3 years post-COVID. We're headed quickly toward a sellout. Now we're 70% sold out for this year's show. It'll sell out in the next couple of weeks. What we do is we try to build those partnerships. We have a couple of on Sunday, the 3rd. We have a Top Golf event, which is a vendor member, kind of a mixture that we bring everybody together. We have our typical regular golf tournament event that we mix the teams up and play for prizes, both on that Sunday. And then on Monday night, the trade show opens on Monday morning. It runs through Tuesday afternoon. On Monday night, we have a very nice bowling reception that we do with the vendor members. So our whole goal is to build those partnerships. It's how I met you. We had a great college football talk, which is one of my favorite subjects, along with a business talk, which has led, to a deal. And that's what we do. We meet people, we build relationships, and we kind of go from there, because you never know what, as a procurement director, what I'm going to need, what my agency is going to need to purchase. So if I've met someone, built that relationship, it makes it easier.
Very good. That's a great synopsis there, Steve. And for anybody who wants more information about the event, get out your pencils and pens. You can go to SCAGPO.org. That's scagpo.org. And there's a great summary of what and a schedule, so everyone can understand exactly what's going to take place there. And I'm going to give a little plug for the SCAGPO conference. Again, I was fortunate to be there. It's been about, what, 8 months ago or so. I go to about, myself, 20 to 25 events per year. And at SCAGPO, like others, but you can really sense that the agency attendees who are there are genuinely, and that's the key word, genuinely interested in discovering what's out there, have conversations. And so on the exhibitor side of the house, I know that's important. But
Mhm.
anybody who's tuned into our conversation, Steve, let's kind of break it down into two segments. First of all, for agency attendees there in the great state of South Carolina, why should they get involved with SCAGPO? Why should they be in Myrtle Beach the first week of November?
Our whole goal, and I'm passionate about this, Bill, is
Mhm.
training young buyers. As you can see, I'm on the other end of the young buyer stand. We need to train young buyers to do this business. A lot of millennials are entering our workforce. We have regional trainings that I attend. And the last one, and I know I was president of this organization, so I know a lot of people. I didn't know over half of the audience, and that's a good thing. We have a lot of youth, younger people entering our organization, learning this business. Our job as SCAGPO is to help them get certified, which is important. It's a standard in our business to reach certification, and then to help them be a resource, be a mentor, have a connection that you can call if your director is out, or if you just want to hear another voice or get some advice on how to do something. It's build those relationships that we do, and that's what we do on the member side. We have 2 days of classes, speakers, things like that. State procurement comes down, and they're kind of our overriding procurement arm in our state. They do help us do a lot of the trainings. People in outlying areas. I'm in the state capital. Others don't have the access to them that I do. So it's good to build their relationships with the outlying buyers. That's kind of our goal on the member side.
That's a great segue, Steve. Now over to the exhibitor side. I think I kind of gave my personal experience. Again, the organization, the communication, the excitement there at the exhibit hall, first class. Really haven't been a part of any better. But kind of give the elevator pitch to any prospective businesses, companies, vendors, suppliers who are out there and kind of on the fence about coming to Myrtle Beach or not.
I'm passionate. I've been involved in this trade show since 2006. Basically, my entire career, my entire state career. Um, I've seen it grow. I've seen it suffer through COVID. Now I've seen it explode again. It's our association exists. This trade show exists because of our vendor member partnerships. We couldn't put it on without the support we received from the vendor community. It's very well received. Our members are very good about visiting these booths. They're not just shopping, playing golf, and all that kind of stuff. They understand the teamwork that is built between these two sides. And we tried to, when I started this business in the late 90s, I don't want to call it antagonistic, but it wasn't partnerships. It was a vendor and it was a buyer. And those were not always on the same side of the fence. Now this has come full circle. We strive to build more teamwork, true partnerships between the two sides. That's what we try to do. My little pitch is we do have an early bird discount. It ends tomorrow night, Friday night. But we have booths left. Co-sponsorship at scagpo.org is the email address. I'll certainly be glad to try to help you get a booth, and would love to have you guys attend. It's a great time to meet local government, state and local governments, universities, colleges, and state buyers all in one setting, and not have to go drive throughout the state of South Carolina or reach out to that many via phone calls or teams. You can do it in one place over a 2-day period.
Yeah, it is a great opportunity for all of the suppliers slash vendors out there. And just a point of clarification, not sure, of course, we're out on the wide world web with our show, but just again to clarify that Steve and I are recording this conversation on the 1st of August, 2024. So be mindful of that in terms of the scheduled deadlines, those kinds of things, just to be safe there. Now, one thing that I've picked up on, Steve, and obviously you and I have spoken often over the last year or so, and as we prepared to go to the SCAGPO conference November of 2023. But One of the things that I've noticed, and I have spent exactly 0 days working in an agency. I mean, let me be clear there, right? I'm not in the trenches, in the foxhole of agency life. But one thing that I've noticed as I've traveled around, and I've gone from Boston to Hawaii and everywhere in between, everybody's heard my line. One thing that I've noticed at these conferences is they tend to host at least one or two sessions about retirement.
Yep.
And let me tell you, when I go to these shows, those particular sessions are full. There are people transitioning out of whether it be retirement or maybe going to another role elsewhere, maybe going to the private sector. But anyway, my question to you, Steve, is if there's anybody watching our conversation who's considering a career in purchasing, you have the floor. Why should somebody at least inquire, investigate the opportunities that are out there? Because it seems like they're plentiful.
So that's a great question. I think it's a extrovert's job. You need to enjoy talking to people. If you enjoy talking to people and you don't want to do the same thing every day, I never know what my day is going to be. I run the fleet program here, the warehousing program, over with, of course, the procurement and contracting program, or the PCAR program. There's always something to do that's different every day, a different conversation that I have to have. If you don't want to just go in and do a routine task every day, look into public procurement. The money has certainly gotten a lot better. The average salaries, I think, have almost doubled since I started in this business, which is a good thing. They've kind of caught the finance side. So the money is now there for young people getting in this business. And it's just something millennials like. I've noticed they change jobs a lot. A lot of that is boredom. In this world, it's not boring because you have such a wide variety of things that you can do on a daily basis. And I think it's lots of opportunity to move up. If you're in a state government position, you can, once you're in the state's ERP, and and you're an expert in how that works, then you can look for jobs in other agencies that are next levels up. And that's what I see folks doing. I think it's a good career laddered position that has a future. So that's why I think people should consider it.
Gotcha. Now, I'm going to try to tread lightly here, try to be a little careful when I ask this question. It's asked with a preponderance of respect because everybody has their own situation, everybody's different, et cetera, et cetera. But you and I both know that it doesn't matter if it's private sector, public sector, but sometimes and I'm raising my hand myself, but sometimes we fall into that mindset of this is the way we've always done it, or we don't want to change things because change is hard. I know what I know about you is that you have that curious mindset, that inquisitive nature where you want to research, you want to be educated, you want to do things like be involved with SCAGPO, where you can hear different voices out there in the private sector, in the public sector. So, what would you say to an organization? What would you say to a person who finds themselves not willing to explore new solutions, new services, new opportunities to maybe help their town, help their city, help their agency?
Difficult if you're not willing to do that. So when I started in '97 in the public sector, dot matrix printers, handwritten requisitions, catalogs, the cell phones that flipped, maybe even bag phones were still popular. And now I would have never envisioned Teams calls, Zoom calls, being able to talk to you from where you are. The preponderance of the internet, AI is such a massive change that is hurtling down the track that some folks are scared of, but it just, my opinion, needs to be embraced, properly embraced. I'm on the AI task force here at my agency. Our state is releasing a lot of stuff about it because this change that's coming. You have to be willing to change to make us more efficient. The old days with having to type out literally on old systems on typewriters, and I came in on the tail end of the typewriter and right at the beginning of the dot matrix deal, and we've come so far now with just the speed you can get things done, the communication that you can do via cell phones, text, FaceTime, Zoom, Teams. it's difficult if you're not willing to take advantage of the modern tools and the benefits that come from that. The world is open now. I'm looking for a project management software piece. I don't know any project management software companies offhand, but I found six in about a week by doing a market research study through the internet and reaching out globally. And we couldn't have done that in '97. So without a lot of typed out letters mailed to people through the U.S. mail service. So I urge people to embrace that. You may find some of your management is against change, which is more likely what people face. We have to educate them about the benefits of what we're trying to accomplish and what the change leads us to down the road.
Excellent words, Steve. And yeah, I mean, you don't need me to echo what you just said. You said it beautifully. But yeah, there is technology. There are, new improving solutions, heck, industries that
Yeah.
20 years ago didn't exist, 10 years ago weren't on the radar. And so, yeah, there's a lot of information out there. It can at times be challenging to kind of wade through that information and find out what you need. But I know, as you know, there are people out there to help make that happen. Now,
Uh,
you through your involvement with SCAGPO, because of the role that you hold there, it doesn't matter if somebody in South Carolina is over near Greenville and Anderson and Clemson, or if they're down the coast, Charleston, Myrtle Beach, but all points in between. I know that you interact with many people there in the great state of South Carolina. What are you hearing that's maybe a common challenge or a situation that kind of permeates throughout the state of South Carolina when it comes to purchasing?
Turnover is in every agency has been a problem, Bill. Trying to find qualified applicants to applicants that will show up for interviews because we've had so many. We get about 50% that show up for our interviews, and our agency, for one, has great pay and wonderful benefits. Training, pre and post COVID, a lot of agencies, not mine, but a lot of agencies greatly reduced training staffs. And those staffs in our agency, they give great agency training. There's a lot of difference between that training and being able to be a procurement director at an agency, right? So our state procurement office and SCAGPO, and one of my passions as president was teach people how to do the job. How do you, because it's a bureaucratic job at times, how do you do the bureaucratic forms? Train them on how to do the actual form, train them on how to do the reports that are due quarterly, train them on the task, how to deal with vendors, what's the proper way to handle business meetings and to deal with multiple competitors on a certain product, and the whole ethics, the business ethics piece, what can you do there? What's proper in the public sector procurement. So training and staffing are the two things I keep hearing because we're all retiring out. I've got 4 more years. Who's coming behind us, and at what level are they? Because it takes a minute to gain the institutional knowledge that we're losing. So we need to pour that into our younger buyers so that they're prepared to take our places.
Well, Steve, on behalf of everybody here at the show, our audience, the Big Bid Theory, powered by Bid Prime and Beacon Bid, we appreciate all that you and your team, everybody at SCAGPO, do to not just, of course, help those in the state of South Carolina, but what I find is that what's going on in one state, one area, eventually it can be meaningful and helpful to others throughout this great country as well. So, tip of the cap to you and your team. I do want to give one more reminder. I want to make sure that I get this right. So SCAGPO 24, the conference, again, go to scagpo.org, scagpo.org for more information. The dates, November 3rd through the 6th over in Myrtle Beach. If anybody has any questions that maybe the website, they can't quite find the answer, Steve, somebody who's interested in being an attendee and or an exhibitor, how can people get more information if so inclined?
I would love for them to just email me at co-sponsorship@scagpo.org, or they can call my business cell at 803-429-3012. And I'd love to have a conversation with them about either this SCAGPO or next year's event in Charleston.
Very good, Stephen. For those of you tuned in right now, Chrissy and Rick are going to, in the description of the podcast, we will have Steve's bio there, and we will also have his email as well. But anybody who wants to give you a call, there's that information right there. So again, Steve, tip of the cap to you. I hope that you and I cross paths very soon, and everybody have a safe and productive time there in Myrtle Beach in November.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you so much.